This is Dave at AFX Search, private investigators in Palm Beach, Florida. Let's look at the top 10 fraud audits that can be done for a business that's suspecting fraud or embezzlement or even diversion of product from your company. First thing is real simple. It's kind of tried and true. Is make sure that your accountant or bookkeeper has time off. It's tough to cover your tracks when you have to take time off. If you're there every day, never take a vacation, you can take time off. A lot of bookkeepers and accountants will keep their fraud going longer because there's nobody else that can ever look at their process. So if you force, a good vacation for an accountant or bookkeeper, a lot of times these things will bubble up. Phone calls come in, checks come in, invoices come in that you didn't know about as a business owner or as a general manager. The next one is to look at the order of checks being cashed. If you have checks that are written in order by number, let's say through a check printing machine or through your computer program for accounting, you'll find that a ghost vendor or a payment that's made not through the normal channels will come out of sequence. It might be cashed too early, it might be cashed too late. If you send out payables on a Friday and it takes an average of 5 or 6 days for most of the vendors to cash their checks, and you find one that's cashed on Saturday or Monday, you may find that check is being pulled from the payables run and being handed or being stolen by somebody inside, or maybe it's being mailed locally. If your vendors are all out of town and it takes them a few days to get their checks, you may find that it's being sent to a local address. The second one that's related to that is look at the endorsements of checks. Make sure that the name that's endorsing the check matches the front. A lot of ghost vendors or embezzlers will have a check made out to a legitimate vendor or a legitimate sounding company and then sign the back by a personal name, or maybe even sign it as a different name as the front or third-party endorsement. A check to a legitimate business vendor is normally not signed over to a third party. May be the case in some instances, but that's a red flag for fraud. Another thing to look at is the accounts payable addresses. Look at the addresses on your accounts payable and see if any of those match employees in your local area when they shouldn't be. See if there appear to be a residential address when it shouldn't be. If you hire somebody to cut the grass in front of your building, that may be a residential address for the bookkeeper, for the landscaper. However, that's not going to be normal for most businesses, so keep an eye on the accounts payable addresses. Also, randomly audit checks under your known threshold. If you have a threshold in your business of $75 checks, only need one signature, or they're not audited normally, the inside person who is committing fraud will know your threshold. So occasionally pull a handful of checks under your threshold and audit them as well, just to keep everybody honest. Look at categories of vendors in your purchasing department that only have 1 or 2 vendors. If you, let's say, purchase something in a category that normally will have 5 or 6 or 7 different vendors you go back and forth between, if there's only one vendor in a category, that could be an example of steering to a vendor, cash payments to a purchasing manager to steer towards one vendor. So that's another red flag. Also, you may want to research records on key employees to see if there's any divorces going on, mortgage amounts going up or down. If they're refinancing a mortgage and cashing out, that could be financial distress. If they're refinancing mortgages with cash amounts going down, that could also be a chance for money being put away into that property that's being stolen from your business. Take a look at your top 5 valued inventory items. The items in your inventory that have the top 5 or the highest dollar amount, and see if those are being accounted for properly. Make sure those are not being diverted. Those are going to be the items that are being most likely stolen. And the last thing is take a look at Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter accounts of key employees at their associates. Are they people who are maybe competitors? Are they vendors? If your purchasing manager is Facebook friends with a vendor, that might be a source of keep an eye on it. So corporate fraud can occur in a lot of different places, in a lot of different forms. Taking a look at some of the obvious red flags takes very little amount of time. It can keep you from having to do a deep fraud investigation later.